Hi, Sagittarius. Welcome to your December 2018 Astro Update. It's Serena, and I'm a fellow Sagittarian. So this month is the month where we have a new moon in Sagittarius. The solar return for many Sagittarians is actually in December. But happy birthday to November Sagittarius and December Sagittarius. And I think that this is the period of time when you will feel like your life is moving forward. Even in November, when we see Jupiter going into Sagittarius, and while we may be rejoicing in that, there is this sense that there is still some kind of review taking place because Mercury goes retrograde on the 16th of November. And it's not until December 6th that it goes direct. And so, again, we're ending the year with most of the planets direct. I was looking at the ephemeris. The only planet, and this is an outer planet, Uranus, is still retrograding as the year ends, but every other planet is direct. So, in light of that, this is going to be a month where a lot of Sagittarians may feel like they can finally get some of their plans off the ground. You may actually wait until the new year because of the nature of December being holiday season. But you know what I mean. You still may feel like, especially after that first week, because we still have Mercury retrograding. Okay, so the month begins with the sun in our sign. Sagittarians feel more energetic. We feel like we have this sense of optimism. When the sun is in the 12th house, when it was in Scorpio, up until the third week of November, there may be this feeling of, I don't even know if I'd call it melancholy, but this feeling of things below the surface, kind of being made aware of them. As I'm recording this is exactly what is happening, and it's been a strange period of time. Same with when Mercury is in the 12th house. It's like you have these kind of psychic hits where you think of something from the past, but you're not sure if it's even in this lifetime. It's just, I can't even describe how it feels because the 12th house is ruled by Neptune, and it's like very dreamy, very karmic, and very interior. It's very much within yourself, and you may, during that time, feel quite introverted, not wanting to socialize, introspective, which is a good thing. We should be introspective. So when the sun is in the first house, you feel like you want to kind of just celebrate, enjoy life, which is great. You know, there's a time for introspection and there's a time for celebration. On the very 1st of December, Mercury, which is in retrograde motion, goes back into Scorpio. So it began retrograding in mid-November in Sagittarius. So that was the first house. Now it's going back to that 12th house. And what this can mean is that you're making some connection, Sag, with the way that you feel about yourself, the way that you carry yourself, and the past. Could be the past in this lifetime, past lifetimes, and it may not be something that you can even put your finger on, but it's really great for change, and change at a fundamental level, I feel, because you're looking at yourself from a cosmic point of view. You're not just saying, oh, I think I'm going to, have a new hairstyle. But really kind of examine how you view yourself and how you carry yourself, and take it into a deeper level, the 12th house, and even things related to your spiritual life, and maybe things that you need to change in that regard as well. Perhaps you feel that you are too scattered and you want to become much more capable of concentration, or even like if you feel like you're not digging deep enough into like meditation, because even though Sagittarians tend to be naturally spiritual, I feel like a lot of us, because we're fire signs, we tend to be very active and in many cases extroverted. And yet we need to go within, just like everyone else. And that will help us in all areas, you know. And I think of the first house as kind of the foundation of every area of our life. So when Mercury goes direct and it goes back into that first house, we can communicate who we are to others. It's not about proving ourselves, but it's about being in alignment with what we stand for. On the 2nd, Venus goes into Scorpio, so Venus goes into that 12th house. I really think it's kind of interesting, and it's not, I'm not saying that this is bizarre or unusual for that, because these are personal planets that are going to be close to the sun anyhow, but in this particular case, the first 2 days of the month, we have these planets going into the 12th house. Now, in one case, it had been in the 12th house and now is retrograding, but Venus going into that 12th. Venus in the 12th house, watch out for people that you meet. I would say especially love partners if you are single, but I guess it could be even if you are connected to somebody and you're kind of like, I don't know about this relationship. You could find that there is somebody that is from a past lifetime, because this is when Mercury is also retrograding. So it could even be just from the past in this lifetime as well, but there could be a karmic connection to this person. And you're like, God, I thought that this relationship had ended and we had resolved everything, and now they're calling me up again. What should I do? Sometimes people get flattered when somebody contacts them who actually was the one to break up with them. Be very careful of that, because that person could definitely be a narcissist. I've been thinking about this lately. I've had clients who, you know, talk about this, and or even just I've read it, you know, people commenting to me about it in general. And the more that I think about it, the more I think those could be narcissists. The reason being that a narcissist will ghost you or just kind of like drop all contact, maybe because they know you're on the verge of finding them out. Maybe you've already asked questions, or you've become more defiant. Or they just found somebody who's completely, you know, because they're so into themselves that they don't even care. They're just like trying to find people to give them their energy supply. And when that person, they've drained that person's energy, then they come back to you. So don't forget why, you know, there were clashes in your relationship. If somebody comes back into your life, if this is somebody you've never met, but it feels very familiar, make sure that it also feels good. You know, pain can feel familiar. That doesn't mean that it's a good relationship. Maybe it is a karmic relationship. Maybe you've known them in 10 lifetimes. Who cares? I mean, it has to be healthy. It has to be positive. Venus in the 12th is great for artistic creations that are coming from spiritual inspiration. I remember Dr. Dyer used to say, in spirit for inspiration. So maybe that's redundant, right? Inspiration is spiritual. On the 6th, Mercury goes direct, yay, in the 12th house. So you're resolving something spiritually that has to do with your life. And, you know, I think there's no coincidence that the 6th house of health and routines opposes the 12th house of the spiritual world and your spiritual life. Because this is, the 6th house is really about how do you organize your time in a day? And the 12th house has no organization. It's like Neptune has no boundaries. It has no rhyme or reason. It's just like energy. It's just like we're all one. So we're all this big blob merging into each other. And that's all fine and dandy, but sometimes we need to get our heads together and figure out how we're going to manage our time. And I'm joking about that because in my natal chart I have Neptune in the 6th house, so I bring the 12th house into my 6th house. But the point being that you're trying to, wrap your brain around something that is very spiritual, and Mercury rules the 6th house. So I didn't even think about that when I started rambling on about this, but yeah. Mercury is your intellect, and it's wanting something concrete that it can work with, because Mercury is about logic. It's not really functioning well in the 12th house if you're trying to think clearly, but it's great for anything that has to do with spirituality or creativity. On the 6th, I wrote it incorrectly. It's actually the 7th. The very next day that Mercury goes direct, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. And that, to me, is symbolic of 2018. It's such a great capper to 2018, this new moon in Sag. I feel that for all of us, regardless of what sign, this is a blessing. But for Sagittarius, this is our green light, because this is, we just had Mercury go direct. It's not out of its shadow, and it'll take a little while for it to get back into Sag. But at the very least, it is in a place where we see forward movement. And actually, I just checked, and it's going to be around Christmas Day, the 25th, when Mercury is going to go back to the same degree as it was when it retrograded, 13 Sag. So, so that especially will feel very good for us and for everyone due to the nature of the shadow period. So the new moon in Sag, what kind of seeds are you going to plant? Not only for the next month, but for 2019. Those of us who have a birthday at the end of the year are really looking at the next year as our solar cycle, right? So, we can just say, is 2019 going to be our year? Well, we have Jupiter in our sign, so it certainly is a good start, right? On the 21st is solstice time. It's a very powerful time, a change of seasons, right? And we have the sun going into Capricorn, a cardinal sign. So whenever we have these solstice points or the equinoxes, we're talking about the change of the sun into cardinal energy. And so this is the second house for Sag. And this is the money house. So the earned income sector starts to light up with this, with the sun here. And the very next day, we have a full moon at 0 degrees of Cancer. I'm actually wondering, why is it... I'm surprised it's on the 22nd, because if it's at 0 degrees of Cancer, the sun has to be at 0 degrees of Cancer. But it's the next day, so how can the sun be at 0 degrees of Cancer the next day? Not quite sure about that. But anyway, it is stating on my ephemeris that the full moon is on the 22nd. And it is at midday Central Standard Time. So perhaps it's if we looked at the full degree, it might be almost at 1 degree at that point. Who knows? But anyhow, this is going to be in the 8th house for Sagittarius. So the 8th house is the house of Scorpio, but it deals with issues surrounding shared resources. So it can be inheritance issues that come up for some reason. And this it can run the gamut. Either you've already been in some kind of a inheritance issue, and it's getting finalized, all of the probate issues. Perhaps you will find out about an inheritance that could bring things to light. It could be paying off some kind of a loan. Maybe that's when you finally, a long-term loan that you, or a debt that you owe. Maybe that's when you finally say, okay, I'm done with that. Yeah, I mean, it could be anything like that. It can be a time when you make the decision that you're trying to transform yourself. The 8th house is ruled by 2 planets, Pluto and Mars, and they are both the rulers of Scorpio. But Pluto is the one that is associated with transformation. And so this may be a time, and because it's at 0 degrees of Cancer, it could be a time when you're really feeling that sense of wanting to have an extreme makeover. And, it's not surprising. It's coming on the heels of your new moon. So you're beginning something, but maybe there are things that you're ready to let go of that have been hard to let go of. And it's time. So I hope that message spoke to those people who needed to hear it. And I'm just really tickled pink about December, Sag. I really am. So here's the deal. I have decided to put my hour-long natal chart interpretations on sale, 20% off, through the rest of 2018. And I calculated it's going to be under $50. And so if you're interested, instead of having a coupon code, I'm just going to change it on my website because it's just too much work. Some people, I want everybody to take advantage of it, and then I ended up having to do it myself. So I'm just going to put it on my website, so you'll be able to order it directly without a coupon code. And again, this is just until December 31st, 2018. So I wish you a great end of the year, solar return. And also, I'm going to be having 2019 readings well, it's 2019 to 2020. Looking at some of the outer planets, I think primarily because they have the biggest impact. And those will be up at some point in the next several weeks. Okay, take care. Bye.